I'm going to talk about the consumerism, fractal, and climate change. Now, as a basis for this discussion, I'm going to refer to a pattern for sustainable progress that's very well captured in the journey that a seed makes in becoming a flower. Now, when we look at this journey, there are three distinct phases. You have a seed that exists as a distinct, isolated entity in which its boundaries, there's an implicit impulse to keep the boundaries the same. And I'll refer to this as the physical phase. When the seed is germinated, so it's popped in the earth, there's all kinds of different set of forces that come alive, and you have a root structure and a tendril structure that's created, and there's a lot more interaction with the environment. So there's a shoot that comes out, and I'll refer to this stage of increased dynamism and assertiveness as the vital stage. And then, if this journey is successful, there is the hidden meaning inside the seed that now becomes apparent, and that journey culminates in a flower. So we see the hidden meaning and purpose and intent of this becomes apparent. I'll refer to this as the mental stage. The point being is that for any organization to become sustainably progressive, it has to go through these three stages. And if there is a stopping of the journey at any of these stages, so at this stage or that stage, then you don't really have an entity, an organization that's displaying sustainable progress, but it's some kind of forestalled progress. Now, there's huge repercussions. So let's look at some of these repercussions. Assuming that this is a seed pattern of orientation that exists everywhere, let's look at what happens when this seed pattern is really layered on an individual. So you have an individual who might exist in different kinds of orientations. So you have a physical orientation, a vital orientation, and a mental orientation. And in the physical orientation, this person may be primarily concerned with fixed boundaries of maintaining the status quo, of maintaining a fixed way of being. In the vital orientation, the person may be primarily concerned with assertiveness of all kinds. So egoism gets perhaps a heightened impetus, and there is a number of dynamics that take place that may be self-seeking and very short-sighted and narrow in their repercussions. And then you have a third level of, or way or orientation of being, which is more mental, in which the true or the truer uniqueness that's implicit in the organization or in the individual becomes more apparent. So if, however, there is a stagnation at this level, then what we're saying is that there is a stagnation at this level. So assuming that you have an individual who's stuck at the vital level, so some kind of unrefined, self-seeking dynamics that animate the behavior of this individual, we can see that this would have an impact on how that person would consume. Now, let's look at this depiction of consumption in a slightly different way. We'll consider a graph, and on one axis I'm going to plot these three levels: physical, vital, and mental. And again, this is a pattern of sustainable progress. What we want to see is the direction going here, and what happens in terms of behavior, consuming behavior, is that if you have an individual who exists at the physical level, then what we're going to see is that there would be fixed patterns of consumption. So whatever they have tended to do in the past is what they will tend to do in the future. If they have certain kinds of tastes in terms of food, they will consume the same food. If certain kind of taste in terms of the clothes that they wear, they'll consume those kinds of clothes or buy those clothes going forward, and so on. So there's fixed buying patterns, and that can be predicted. Now, if an individual exists at the vital level, they're seeking for self-assertion through fulfilling various whims and desires that they even may not know about, but it just happens. So they become subject to various kinds of advertisements in the environment, and they may just go on a spree of buying various things. It really is the era of the disposable product, the product that exists to create or fulfill short-term fulfillment, but with no real understanding of the various factors that go into the production of the product itself. So I'll call this, there's a variable behavior, and there's a number of repercussions on the environment and on society in general. And then at a more sustainable level, in this pattern of sustainable progress, you have a consumer who is now employing or understandable of a number of different factors in the buying decision. So what is the real cost to society? What is the cost to environment? So there's a more educated buying decision that takes place, and that's going to result in more sustainable consumption. Now,